Welcome to Big Thursday, Week 10 edition. We're already 10 weeks in. It's been a crazy week with you see all those college football cancellations. Hopefully, we don't have that in the NFL. We also got our fantasy trade deadline here this week, so we're going to go through some trades or keeper trade segment that we're going to go through and break that down, and then we'll head into our 5 picks. Excited to get started. Let's go. Big Thursday, Week 10 edition.
So back to what I was saying. Could be us. Could be us.
Okay, so welcome to our keeper trade segment in conjunction with the fantasy football trade deadline this week. So Jesse, start us off with your boy, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's in a really interesting spot right now because his value is pretty low. So if you're looking to trade him, you're not going to get much for it. And if you are relying on Lamar and went into the season with Lamar as your quarterback, it's going to be hard to get an upgrade at that position, at least a consistent one. So I would argue you get someone off the waiver wire to balance if Lamar has a tough defense he's going against, but stick with Lamar. He's going to have those blowout games, and you'll be happy to have him in the playoffs.
Look, I think his value is going to go even more down this week. Yes, I agree. You got to get a waiver wire guy. But playing New England in New England, they always have a good defense. They're going to game plan to stop that run against them. Teams are starting to figure him out. I really feel that teams are starting to figure this man out. So I say right now, try to trade him for what you can get. You're in a tough position, as you said, with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and tell me about the next one you have is just the Bucs receivers in general with the addition of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, so I think Antonio Brown, you look where he's been, right? He's been in Oakland. Remember, last year they blew up. New England blew up. So now he's in Tampa Bay, staying with Tom Brady. But after the first week, everyone's going to be like, sell, because they look terrible. But Chris Godwin was hurt, not 100%. Mike Evans, I think he's 2 touchdown dependent. I like Chris Godwin better than Evans. I think Godwin, he won't be double teamed anymore. And I think that goes along with Evans too. But I still like Godwin a little bit better as like a better receiver. I think this team will figure it out. They play Carolina this week, a much less like defense. They have a lot of rookies. They can start to get things going in Tampa Bay. So that was the toughest matchup they're going to get, it feels like, with New Orleans. They don't play them again this year. I think if you're looking at value standpoint, their value is at the lowest they can get right now. So I like keeping these guys, and I think they can work out in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is tough, but I think with the addition of Antonio Brown, with the emergence of Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady can spread the ball to so many players on the field. Leonard Fournette, there's so many that he's a receiving back. There's so many receivers. Scotty Miller, there's so many guys that can catch the ball in New England and in Tampa Bay. So I think with the addition of AB, that just puts it over the edge. Get out when you can. Maybe wait until next week. See if Godwin or Evans have a good week, especially Evans. Right when you get a blowout game with Mike Evans, sell him right away. Hopefully it's this week so you can get it for the trade deadline, because Evans he's really not consistent this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially when you're at the trade deadline. You got to make this decision right now. I think Mike Evans is a much tougher position. But you look at what Bruce Arians wants to do. He wants to throw the football down the field. And I don't think Tom Brady's going to force feed any of these guys. He's going to see which guys are open. I think these best 2 receivers are still Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think AB's a little too inconsistent to start right now. But you look at Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they've been there. They've done it before, especially they'll be getting more one-on-one matchups. I like them to have some big games down the stretch. So now, Jesse, give me your next game.
The next one's Jonathan Taylor. He's in a tough spot. He was really hyped going in. He has a lot of talent, but some would argue that he's not really a starting running back in this league, especially since he's having fumbling issues. Some rookies have that, but also he's starting to split time with Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins. This is becoming more of a committee than people would like. I say you get out before it's too late and move on with Jonathan Taylor.
So in my right mind, I would agree with you. I really would. I really would. But if you look at the schedule coming up, they play Tennessee twice within 3 weeks, Houston, Green Bay. Those are pretty bad defenses against the run. Tennessee's pretty okay. But you look at Green Bay, you look at Houston, they're pretty bad, right? They're pretty bad. I think they're in the bottom half of the league. So Jonathan Taylor, if he fixes I don't think he's going to fumble like that again. Maybe he will. I don't know, but I think that's a very like variance type of statistic. So I don't think he's going to do that as many times. Like that would be my prediction. So I think you trust a guy. He was the second round pick for a reason, and right now his value is too low from where it was at the beginning. Once he got that job with Mac, and the first couple of weeks, everyone was so high on him, and he had that 2 touchdown game. I wanted to buy low on this guy for years, and I still do because I think his value is just dropping, and eventually he's going to work out because he was too good of a runner. He's got too much speed, too much power compared to all these dudes in Indianapolis. They're going to want to run the ball because I don't trust Phillip Rivers, and I don't think the Colts do. They want to pound the football behind that offensive line, and he's the best running back out of those three. So I'm taking Jonathan Taylor all day at his value right now.
And on to the next one. Tell me about Joe Mixon.
Yeah, he's my guy on my fantasy team. A lot of people hating on him. I was against him at the beginning of the year. I mean, and yeah, he has some tough matchups, but I just think this guy, he just gets too many touches. Joe Burrow can throw the football, bounces out a little bit. He can catch the football. Before his injury, he got 25 to 30 touches per game. I don't know how you can get rid of that. What other running back's getting that on a consistent basis? Christian McCaffrey? Oh, wait, he's hurt. Derrick Henry, maybe? He's not nowhere close to that value. So I'm thinking at the value right now, off the injury, you get Joe Mixon, you have Giovanni Bernard, who's been great in his absence. I think you keep this dude.
Yeah. As you said, the schedule is just so difficult for him. He plays the Steelers twice. He has the Ravens coming up. He has the Dolphins. Their run defense hasn't been too bad. I don't like the upcoming schedule for him. And, Giovanni Bernard is kind of making a statement in that offense. He's going to get 5-6 touches a game, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but for someone who relies on volume, I think some of that's going to be taken away, especially if the Bengals are losing a lot of these games. They're going to be down against the Ravens. They're going to be down against the Steelers twice. They're not going to be running the ball much.
Yeah. And then our next guy I want you to break down for us, Cooper Kupp on LA. He's struggled this year, only had 2 touchdowns through the first 10 weeks. So what do you think about Cooper Kupp?
So Cooper Kupp is my guy. He's on my fantasy team. I was really high on him going into the year, and it's obviously not working out. But don't trade him. Who are you getting for Cooper Kupp right now? You're going to get a guy that's inconsistent, that's not on the field for the majority of the game, and you're going to hope for a boom-bust play. You're not going to compare him to like a Cole Beasley. I don't know. I don't want to be in an offense where Cole Beasley is like the number 3, number 4 guy. If you go on the Rams, he's a top 2 target across from Robert Woods, and he's going to get opportunities. It's obviously not working out so far, but the value that you're going to get from him right now just really does not make sense.
Seattle this week, Tampa Bay next week, San Francisco, then Arizona. Seattle stinks at defense in terms of their corners. Bucks are not too good, as you saw last week. 49ers have struggled a lot. And you look at Arizona, they have 1 corner, Patrick Peterson. He'll be with Robert Woods. I like Kupp coming up down the stretch. Then he plays the Jets coming up, Patriots too, who've struggled. So I think Cooper Kupp's in a really good position to break out.
And the last player we have is Derrick Henry, King Henry on the Titans.
Yeah, I bought every player so far. I said keep him, trade him, get some value for this dude. But Derrick Henry, everyone looks at him as that monster. And he's playing some tough defenses coming up. You look at Indianapolis, he plays twice in the upcoming season. So I think that's very tough for them. He also plays Baltimore coming up. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough stretch. Then Cleveland, he does get a little bit easier, but these 4 weeks could be tough. So maybe you can get some value for Derrick Henry right now.
When you have a player that's when their offense is run around one guy, you really should not trade him away. And there's not many teams, there's not many players where a team is revolved around that player. The Titans are one of those few teams with Derrick Henry. I really don't think there are players out there that compare to his volume, to his value on an NFL team to get a fair trade for him. Yes, he's going to have down weeks, but you're not going to get a more volume-heavy player. He relies on that volume, but he's going to get that volume. You can argue with Joe Mixon that you have someone else emerging, but when you get to the goal line, Derrick Henry is the only guy that's going to do it. Titans, play action, run the ball. That's all they do. It's all around Derrick Henry.
Starting running back and a starting receiver for Derrick Henry. Are you doing it if you're a Derrick Henry owner? I'll say Miles Sanders and Robert Woods. Are you doing it?
No.
You're not doing it. So what would it take to give up Derrick Henry?
I would need a guy like a Josh Jacobs, another guy that gets a lot of volume, and a receiver in the realm of Robert Woods. I would consider it.
What's the difference between Sanders and Jacobs?
Jacobs gets a lot more volume than Sanders.
Sanders has been hurt, so
Even when
look, I just think the value we see Derrick Henry on this throne, right?
Yeah.
He's got some tough matchups, so why not get the value you can? I'm just if you're gonna throw every player out there, you look at the value, you look at where he is right now, you got to take the value and be like, okay, I love Derrick Henry, but if I can get a starting running back, and let's say I'm a little bit weaker at receiver because you know what, I invested a lot in Derrick Henry, maybe you get a top tier receiver, Tyreek Hill, I don't know.
Think of it this way: who do you like more right now, Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs?
Derrick Henry.
Okay, so now it's down to the receiver, right?
Yeah.
Is Robert Woods going to change your team?
It depends who's your receivers. That's what I'm saying.
I really don't. I think Robert Woods is a flex play at best, maybe a low end wide receiver.
Maybe it's not Robert Woods. It's someone like that who
right,
can,
exactly.
A wide receiver too. Yeah.
I don't think it's
so. It depends on the value for the team, but I just like the idea of trading someone high like him.
All right. I mean, he's had a couple down weeks though. Might be a little late on that.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so that's our keep or trade deadline for fantasy football segment. After this, we'll be back with our picks. All right, welcome back to our picks segment. We're going to continue this format. So last week we had 2 spread picks, of course. Panthers, Kansas City, my lock of the week. That hit at plus 10.5. It actually fell down to 10. They covered by a long shot. They only lost by 2, and they maybe should have won that game. Bucks -5. That was one of my worst bets. Saints, they won. Jesse won that one, so we went 1-1 again in those spread picks. Underdogs of the week. You had a winner with the Dolphins over the Cardinals. I just don't understand Cliff Kingsbury's calling third down. That didn't make any sense. Colts, Ravens. I thought the Vegas line was very weird. Dropped from 3 to 1. And then trust the Ravens in big games. You know what? That pick that maybe the ref should be fired for that because that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. Lock favorite of the week. I had the Falcons over the Broncos. One of my other big 3 picks, which I really liked in that one. Big. I just thought the Broncos they were on a high and they're going to go back down. Texans over the Jags, that also won in a close game. I mean, Texans, come on. They barely won against the 6th-round pick. Bold predictions of the week. Jets, if they had Sam Darnold and if they ran the ball, they were going to win that game. That was unfortunate. That was a good pick. I'll still stick with that bold prediction. Steelers having 8 sacks, nowhere close. You had 1.5. So let's move on to this week. Let's start with our spread picks. In our first game, we got the New York Football Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Lines 3.5. Jesse, who you got?
I'm going to go against New York again. I feel like I'm a pessimist to these New York teams, but I'm going to go with the Eagles. Daniel Jones, his turnover problem is more than just a problem on his part. It's a problem for the entire team. It's really hard for a team to win a game when you are happy when it's not a turnover. That's not really like every throw you're like, oh, it's going to be a turnover. And if it's not, you're happy. I don't think that's a good spot for the Giants. Eagles, Carson Wentz is looking good. I think Eagles can get the win here and cover.
Yes, the Eagles are off the bye, but you look in the last game they played, Evan Ingram was fingertips from catching the ball. Daniel Jones did not have a turnover last week. Maybe he builds on that against a better defense he played last week with Washington. They have one of the best front sevens. And, oh, by the way, Andrew Thomas played much better in that game. He'll have a tough assignment again, but I like the way they're progressing. The Giants have gotten better in every single game. They'll play hard in every game. You look at who Joe Judge reminds me of. It's Brian Flores with the Miami Dolphins, the way this team plays hard. And I just like this defense right now. They're playing really well. And you look, it's 3.5 points at home. They're at home and they're getting 3.5 in a game they should have won on the road. It doesn't make any sense. I just think this line, it's too much value on the Giants right now, as much as I hope they win, but just there's too much value. You're giving me more than a field goal at home. Daniel Jones hasn't had a pick. They're starting to get rolling offensively. Golden Tate will be back this week, hopefully. So Evan Ingram maybe makes that catch later in the week. I just think the Giants have a little bit too much value here at 3.5.
Next up, the other spread game we have is the Ravens against the Patriots. Who do you have in that?
Yeah, it's a Sunday night football game. I'm not too confident in this, but I'm going to take a shot with Bill Belichick getting a touchdown at home. That's all it is. I mean, the Ravens back-to-back road games. So I think they've had 2 tough games, and now they play the Patriots, who feel like they're giving up. I just don't believe Bill Belichick's going to give up a year. I mean, they still managed to win the game at New York in a terrible game. Yes, I think Cam Newton and them are going to run the football. Calais Campbell's hurt, so maybe something gets going there. I don't expect them to win, but maybe they can backdoor cover at 7.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to think too much into this game. I think the Ravens are going to cover just fine. But I think with the Ravens' outlook on the season, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to compare Ryan Tannehill and Lamar Jackson. Ryan Tannehill has been having success this year, has been having success last year because they don't rely on him too much. They rely on the run game. I know it's a very different situation. It's probably not a very good comparison. But the Ravens have to kind of shift and not focus the offensive plan around Lamar Jackson because clearly, as you said earlier, teams are figuring out Lamar. But if you kind of change where this offense is going, if you rely on the run game and you rely on the play action, get Mark Andrews involved, then I think Lamar has success. Then I think this offense has more success. And even if it's a different identity that they've had in the past, I think Ravens could still find success in the second half.
Yeah, I like the idea of including your playmakers a little bit more. Marquise Brown wants the ball more. Mark Andrews wants the ball more. Get him going. Maybe that helps Lamar Jackson. Then they can run the football a little bit. Use J.K. Dobbins. I mean, they have playmakers on this offense that are not in use. I totally agree with you, Jesse. That's why I think the Patriots are covering this touchdown spread. Okay, underdog of the week. We do it every week. Last week, you won yours. You had the Dolphins over the Cardinals. I think you won yours 2 weeks ago as well. Yes, you did. You had the Raiders to beat the Browns. So you're 2-0 in this segment. Who you got this week?
I'm going to take a pretty safe one, in my opinion, and that's the Bills over the Cardinals. I think Bills are a top 3 team in the league. I think Josh Allen is looking great. I think John Brown, Cole Beasley, getting all these receivers involved. This is looking like a high-powered offense. My worry is their defense. The defense is not trending in the right direction, and they're playing against the number 1 fantasy quarterback, at least right now, Kyler Murray. So it worries me a little bit. I think that's why the Bills are considered the underdog in this game, but I'm still going to take the Bills.
You think they're a top 3 team? So you have. So let me get this straight. Who's your first 2?
Chiefs.
Okay.
And then, I mean,
they're 8-0.
I'd put the Bills number 2. Maybe the Steelers after that. Maybe the.
Oh, so they didn't play. They played really well against the Titans too, and they really competed with the Chiefs. Come on.
No, I think Chiefs are on top of it, but
I understand. Yeah,
the Titans are in the top 3.
I don't think they are either, but I don't think the Bills are. Seattle was in a terrible position last week. I think the Bills are going to lose this game.
What's your top 3?
Top 3 right now. I'll give you the Chiefs. I'll give you the Steelers because they're 8-0, and I'll give you. I would lean right now because of this week. I'm going to lean New Orleans.
All right. So we're disagreeing on the Saints versus the Bills right now, right?
What's the Saints' weakness?
The defense?
They let up 3 points to Tom Brady.
Drew Brees?
Drew Brees is the weakness, yes, but he had 38 points and hasn't had his receivers. What's the Bills have plenty of weaknesses. They can't run the ball and they can't play defense. I think
right now, if the Bills played the Saints, definitely be a close game. And I would probably take the Bills in that game.
I would 100% take the Saints. I don't think it's close. I don't think the Bills are a top 5 team. 6 or 7, maybe.
This is coming from an AFC East team with the Jets.
I think the Dolphins have a shot at winning that division if the Cardinals win this week, which I think they will. So
it's got a pit.
My underdog, we'll see. My underdog of the week is going to be the team that lost to the Bills last week, Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson as an underdog. I'm taking that every week. He's playing the Rams. Road dog off a loss. I love it. Seattle here off a loss. Rams overvalued as a buy. This is a classic overvalue situation for the Rams. I don't think they're that good of a team. Seattle comes back. Jamal Adams another week back. Carlos Dunlap another week in that system. Shaquille Griffin another week. He'll be back hopefully this week at corner. So I like the Seahawks to play well against the Rams and win the game outright.
Next up, we have the lock of the week. You can go first with yours.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns off a bye against the Houston Texans. Nick Chubb is back, and their Teller's back on the offensive line. So I think they're going to run the football. Well, I'll get more of that later in my bold prediction. But I think they run the football all over the Houston defense. I lost all respect for this Houston defense once I saw them against Tennessee and absolutely blow the game. They're just not a good defense. Who was the quarterback for Jacksonville? Luton? He had
played well.
25 points. He played well. The Houston defense is terrible. I love the Browns this week, and you're getting them at a value at 3. That doesn't make any sense. Give me the Browns big over the Texans.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm kind of contradicting myself with this pick. I just didn't talk too well about the Saints. Saints are still a very good team, and they're going to beat the 49ers this week. I don't trust the 49ers. I've never trusted the 49ers. Don't trust their defense that is still hurt everywhere on their offense and defensive side. And Drew Brees isn't playing well. They just coming off a huge week against the Bucs. That their morale is high. Kind of worried that they're going to be a little cruising after I see what they're doing in the locker room dancing. They have to focus in on this game. But I still think the Saints will get this one pretty easy against the 49ers.
Okay, my favorite segment of the week, bold predictions. Jesse, start us off.
All right. Big Tom Brady comeback. Brady comes in his normal fashion and his normal comeback tendencies. He's going to throw 5 touchdowns. And I'm just going to add this poll prediction on. Antonio Brown gets in the end zone as one of those 5 touchdowns. I think this Bucs offense gets going. Everyone gets involved. Brady throws the ball around. I think this one's possible.
Do you think the Bucs are better than the Bills? Who wins on a neutral site?
Tough to say the Bucs are better than the Bills after last week.
That makes sense, but we'll see after this week. I don't know. I still don't agree. I don't still understand that Bills. Why you have them in the top 3? They don't have a running game and they don't have a defense.
Oh, they have a running game. His name's Josh Allen.
They have no running game. Play the pass against them. All right. Bold prediction for me. I talked about it earlier in that Browns-Texans game. I love this running game. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt combined for 250 scrimmage yards. They run all over the Texans and blow them out. I like them winning 38-17. All right. So game of the week. Here we go. Colts Titans. It's a pick 'em right now. Pick 'em. Jesse, start us off with your pick.
I have always liked the Titans. I always think they're a strong team. They're well coached. I like how they run their offense, but I'm gonna take the Colts this week. And that is honestly, it kind of sounds contradictory, but that's because Jonathan Taylor is not the only running back on the field. I think the Colts with a committee of running backs is a better team. I think it takes some pressure off of Phillip Rivers and Jonathan Taylor in that sense. So I think the Colts get back on track. Obviously, we know their defense is very good. Their run defense is very good against, obviously, a run-heavy offense in the Titans. I think the Colts can get ahead in this game early and not have to rely on Phillip Rivers too much in crunch time.
Fuck, I was all over the Colts. I thought this line was weird. Let's take the Colts. I think they have all the value here. But then I thought about the quarterbacks, right? Ryan Tannehill, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers on the road, primetime. Titans have fans too. And you've seen what they've done at home. They've crushed the Bills at home in a primetime spot. They've played, who else did they play at home? They played multiple teams well at home. They beat the Texans big at home. So I think they're just very good at home. Yes, I know, but the Texans, that was their biggest game of the year. And they beat them. So I just think the Titans here, Derrick Henry, maybe he's not great against the Colts defense, but I think they'll throw the football. Ryan Tannehill, I trust him. A.J. Brown is a top-tier wide receiver in Tennessee, so I like the Titans here at home. I just don't trust Phillip Rivers to hang with this Titans offense. Titans win 27-20. Okay, thank you guys for listening. Yes, it was a weird week. It's been a weird week. Yes, Jesse has the Bills top 3, which doesn't make any sense, but week 10 coming up soon. We're so excited. Big Thursday. It should be a great game tomorrow night. Colts Titans, well, when it comes out tonight. So Colts Titans, great game. Enjoy. Big Thursday.
This could be us. So back to what I was saying. Could be us.